She leaped into the embrace of a stranger. What she discovered changed her life forever, an incredible bond forged in chaos and hope. Sarah staggered back as the precarious stack of boxes toppled forward, an avalanche of donations destined for the community center's annual drive coming down like thunder. The world slowed. She felt her heart race, panic enveloping her. Ethan's laughter echoed in her mind, reminding her of the light he brought to her life, a light she needed to protect at all costs. Just as the boxes were about to land on her, a massive figure lunged forward. Strong arms wrapped around her, lifting her out of the chaos. "Gotcha," he said, his voice booming and warm. Quinn, no, Jake was a gentle giant, his eyes kind yet haunted. Staring into those depths, Sarah felt her heart flutter, filled with a strange mix of gratitude and relief. She crashed into him, clinging tightly, and it was then she realized how much she craved this moment, how fragile her world had become. With one simple act of heroism, a flicker of hope ignited in her weary heart. "Thank you? I thought I was a goner," she stammered, her cheeks flushed. Jake chuckled, but there was a heaviness to it. He carried his own burdens. His t-shirt hinted at muscles hard worn by life, shadowed by something deeper. "Just helping out," he replied, his smile genuine but touched with sadness. They stood together amidst scattered boxes and the murmur of the community center, a temporary refuge from their chaotic lives. Sarah glanced around, seeing Ethan's hopeful face as they had entered, and her heart ached. She wanted him to have the world, a simple backyard, a place to laugh and dream, something she wasn't sure she could give him anymore. Fate twisted their paths, and as they exchanged small talk, a partnership bloomed. Both seekers of solace among their struggles, they decided to create a community garden. They envisioned rows of vegetables bringing life and nourishment to the neighborhood, a patch of green against the stark reality closing in around them. "Let us do this," Sarah said, determination weaving its way into her voice. "We can inspire others." But the naysayers emerged quickly. "What can a single mom and a war vet really do?" they scoffed. The whispers stung, disbelief hanging in the air thick as fog. Jake, with shadows of doubt lingering behind him, felt the familiar sting of judgment. At times he imagined retreating, but Sarah's fire kept him grounded. He clenched his fists, zest for life emerging from the ruins of his past. This was not just their fight, it was for everyone. As they rolled up their sleeves, the garden began to flourish, breathing life into a heart-starved block, but the local business owner loomed like a dark cloud. "This land is set for a shopping center," he warned, threatening to bulldoze their dreams. Heart pounding, Sarah felt desperation rise like bile. They held a community meeting, sharing stories of struggle and resilience. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As their voices rose and mingled under the warm sun, hope ignited like wildfire. Yet, as tensions mounted against odds that seemingly multiplied, they wondered, could their new family, this community of neighbors, hold strong against the storm about to break? A sudden noise interrupted their planning, one more devastation before the storm could end, and in that instant, Sarah felt her resolve waver. Would it all crumble like the last box crashing down? Sarah stood frozen, her heart racing as echoes of the crashing boxes faded into a chilling silence. The laughter and chatter surrounding the community meeting died away, leaving only the distant sounds of cars outside. It was as if the air itself held its breath, waiting for what might come next. She didn't know where the noise had come from, but it felt like a warning something was about to shatter their fragile hope. Jake sensed her tension. "You okay?" His deep voice brought her back to the moment, and she could see the concern etched on his face. He was formidable, yet here he was, visibly shaken. It struck her how much weight they both carried, two souls thrown together by life's cruel twists. I I just need to focus, Sarah replied, forcing a smile. We've come so far. She glanced at the gathered neighbors, their faces a mix of apprehension and anticipation. They were all rooting for this garden, building something from nothing. But Sarah could feel the invisible thread of doubt that bound them. Maybe we need to hold another meeting, Jake suggested, cradling his coffee cup like it was a fragile flower. More people need to know what we're up against. This land, it means more than just soil to us. Sarah nodded, brimming with determination despite the new fear gnawing at her. Yes. We can show them how much this matters. She turned back to the crowd. Let us rally everyone together for an emergency meeting this weekend. Hope mixed with urgency in her voice, reverberating through the gathered community. One by one, they murmured their assent, reaffirming their commitment to stand together. As conversations began to weave together again, a sudden figure stepped forward, the local business owner, Mr. Mason, arms crossed defiantly. His presence loomed like a storm cloud. Another meeting? He scoffed, a sneer etched across his face. What a waste of time. You really think you can stop progress with this little project? Sarah felt her chest tighten. The tension in the room thickened, and she glanced at Jake, whose jaw clenched tight. We're not backing down, Mr. Mason. This garden means something to us. It's about more than just food, it's about connection, about hope. Mr. Mason scoffed again. Hope doesn't pay the bills, sweetheart. We're building a shopping center here. Jobs, money, future. Your garden? It's a dream for kids. It won't sustain anything real. With every word he uttered, Sarah felt the air grow colder around her. For a moment, anger sparked inside her, fiery and bright. She had worked hard for this. But then she remembered Ethan's face, his innocence, and the future she fought for. Anger wasn't the answer. Perseverance was. You're right, hope doesn't pay the bills. But together, we can work for something meaningful, Sarah replied, trying to steady her voice. We can show the world that a community thrives when it helps one another, when there's greenery life to contrast the concrete. Jake stepped forward, carrying the weight of his past experiences as well. You lost the heart of this neighborhood when you walked in here. But it's not too late to turn back. You want a project that profits? Help us grow this garden. Help us build a community that will stand by you just as fiercely as we'll stand by each other. The murmurs of support from the crowd began to swell again. But Sarah felt an unsettling whisper behind her, doubt creeping back in. Would Mason listen? Or would he bulldoze their dreams without a second thought? Feeling the intensity shift, Sarah's heart raced with uncertainty. The air felt heavy and electric, and for a moment, it was as if the ground beneath them rumbled with potential for something powerful. But what could they do if he stood firm against them? Suddenly, Sarah caught a movement from the corner of her eye, Ethan stepping through the crowd, confusion mingling with hope. In that moment, she realized their fight was not just for the garden or against Mason's plans. It was for their future, for every child who deserved to dream big. With determination, she took a deep breath and faced the crowd. This is our home, and we will not let it slip away without a fight. But deep down, a haunting question lingered. Would their voices be enough? Would their hope carry them through the storms swirling on the horizon? As uncertainty loomed like a dark cloud, Sarah stole a glance at Jake. They had come so far together, but now they stood on the edge, ready to confront whatever came next. And just as she opened her mouth to speak again, a sudden crash echoed behind them, sending shock waves through the crowd. What now? The crowd jumped at the sound, a collective gasp that cut through the tension like a knife. Sarah turned, her heart pounding like a drum against her ribs. What had just happened? Was Mason making good on his threat? Ahead, a pile of boxes had toppled over in the corner of the meeting hall, spilling papers and flyers across the floor. But it was the figure bent over the broken boxes that caught her attention. An older woman, gray-haired and frail, was struggling to collect the scattered materials. The urgency in her movements spoke volumes. It was as if each paper held some piece of her history. Jake was the first to react. He surged forward, kneeling beside her. "Are you okay?" he asked, worry etched across his face. The woman looked up, startled, her eyes filled with a mix of embarrassment and gratitude. Oh dear. Yes. I'm fine, but these flyers. She stopped mid-sentence and looked around the room, bewildered by the anxious faces. I wanted to help, but I tripped. Sarah felt a wave of sympathy wash over her. Let me help you, she said, rushing to join them. Together, they gathered the papers, and with every flyer that found its way back into the woman's grasp, Sarah suddenly became aware of the echoes of their earlier conversation. It was as if the tiny act of kindness had swept away the heavy shadows of doubt. Thank you, dear, the woman said, her voice steadying as she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. My name is Agnes. I've lived in this neighborhood for over 30 years, and I used to tend to the garden right here. She gestured toward a wall where faded pictures hung, depicting the beautiful blooms that once thrived there. It seems like it vanished overnight. A rush of warmth filled Sarah's chest. You've made a garden here? Agnes nodded, pride blossoming in her voice. A community garden. It brought everyone together. We shared food, laughter, and sometimes tears. When I saw your flyer about creating something new, I just had to help. As the elderly woman spoke, a sense of connection sparked in the room, elevating spirits like sunlight breaking through clouds. Faces softened as neighbors realized the depth of their shared history. Sarah glanced at Jake. They needed more voices like Agnes's, people with roots in the soil, memories woven into every inch of the land. Agnes, would you like to join us for our emergency meeting this weekend? Jake asked, sincerity shining in his eyes. Your experience could guide us. Agnes's expression brightened, a glimmer of hope igniting deep in her gaze. I would love that. We need to remind everyone what this means. It's more than just dirt, it's our heart. Inspired, Sarah took a step back, absorbing the energy of the room. For the first time, she felt that they could shift the tide. It was possible if they harnessed the strength of their community, they could fight for something real. They had to show Mason that progress didn't just pave over what was already there, it could uplift and bring new life. But even as hope swirled in the air, dark clouds loomed. How would they reach enough people to change Mason's mind? Could one gathering truly ignite a movement? Just then, another loud crash echoed from outside the meeting hall, rattling the windows and sending a fresh wave of apprehension through the crowd. All heads turned towards the door, hearts pounding anew. Sarah's stomach dropped. This was no longer just a fight for a garden, it felt like they were standing on the precipice of something much larger. With the weight of her community on her shoulders, Sarah felt determination redefining her. What could this latest disruption mean? And more importantly, how would they respond? Sarah turned to Jake, her eyes wide, caught between fear and resolve. The room buzzed with whispers as everyone shifted uneasily, a tension that danced through the air like static. They had just begun to find their footing, and now it felt as if the ground was shifting beneath them again. What do you think that was? Jake asked, scanning the crowd, his face set in determination but shadowed by uncertainty. I don't know, Sarah admitted, her voice low. But we need to check it out. As she stepped toward the door, she could feel the weight of eyes upon her, some laced with fear, others with an eagerness for action. It was clear they were at a crossroads. Wait! Agnes called, her voice breaking through the murmur of anxiety. You shouldn't go alone. We're all in this together. She rose slowly, a strength radiating from her frail figure that seemed to ignite something in the others. With a firm nod from Jake, Sarah smiled at Agnes, touched by her instinct to protect. You're right. Let us all go. The group shuffled toward the exit, and Sarah took a deep breath as she opened the door, feeling a rush of cool air. Outside, chaos reigned. Several young men were arguing near an overturned dumpster, voices loud and aggressive, and in the corner, a few teenagers filmed on their phones, the flashing lights framing a scene of potential disaster. Hey! What's going on? Sarah called out, her voice cutting through the commotion. The argument turned toward her, eyes blazing with frustration. Just minding our business until a bunch of creeps came and messed with us, one of the men spat. We're trying to clean this crap up, and they think it's a joke. Yeah, like we're just supposed to stand by. Another added with a scoff. They were angry, and so very young. Sarah noted their torn clothing and wild hair. They were part of the neighborhood, too. With a heart full of empathy, she stepped forward. Look, we know what it's like to feel like things are getting out of control. We're trying to fight for our community. Can we work together? Can you tell us what happened? The young men paused, caught off guard by her sincerity. Surprisingly, instead of hostility, a hint of uncertainty crossed their faces, as if they were starting to doubt their own anger. We were just trying to stand up for what's ours. One finally shouted, though the fire in his voice was less forceful now. We get it, Jake chimed in, stepping beside Sarah. But fighting won't help. It'll only tear us apart. This fight is bigger than any of us. Agnes joined in, her voice steady and soothing. I remember when we were all scared and unsure. We found strength together, weaving our stories into something beautiful. Gradually, the anger melted away, replaced by curiosity. The men began to listen, and Sarah felt a small spark of hope. If you help us rally people to fight for this garden, she said, raising her voice, we can show everyone what this place can become again. We can turn this chaos into something special. Will you join us? A silence fell, heavy and palpable, as each face reflected uncertainty that slowly gave way to possibility. All right, one of the young men finally said, nodding almost imperceptibly. We can try. As cheers erupted from the gathering crowd, Sarah felt the pulse of change coursing through her veins. They had turned a potential conflict into liberation. But as excitement surged, she caught a glimpse of shadows lurking at the edge of the street, figures watching intently, outlines familiar but menacing. What did they want, and would this fragile unity withstand the outside pressure threatening to squash it? Her heart raced as she gripped Jake's arm. We need to be ready, she whispered urgently, feeling the weight of everything hanging in the balance. Would this newfound alliance be their strength, or their downfall? The cheers echoed through the air, drowning out the uneasy thrum of the shadows that loomed just beyond the crowd. Yet, as Sarah felt a spark among the people, a sense of dread settled low in her gut. She scanned the street again, straining to see through the haziness of twilight. Jake, she murmured, her eyes darting, I can't shake this feeling that we're being watched. He turned to follow her gaze, his expression hardening. We can't let fear take over now. But Sarah noticed the tension in his jaw. He felt it too, the oppressive weight of unseen eyes. The group began to disperse, excitement rushing through them, but Sarah remained rooted in place. She was filled with a mix of hope and caution. We need to show them that there's more to this fight than just anger. We need to unite everyone, get the word out, she suggested, eager to maintain the momentum they'd created. Agnes stepped closer, her eyes twinkling with an unusual fire. Let us organize a meeting. A real gathering. We can plan. We can rally the community. Good idea, Jake agreed, his eyes narrowing as he surveyed the street again. But we also have to be careful. If those shadows are what I think they are, we might need to set up some defenses too. Just then, one of the young men approached. His name was Marcus, and he had a worn look about him, but determination burned behind his eyes. I can help with that, he said, hands shoved deep in his pockets. We'll need supplies, and we've got a few people who can help with security. Word of mouth goes fast. People want to fight back. Sarah's heart warmed. Let us do it then. But we need everyone. We need to reach out to the seniors, the children, everyone who believes in this garden. And we should do it soon, Jake added, glancing over his shoulder, almost as if he expected the shadows to erupt into chaos at any moment. We can't let them think we're just going to roll over. As they began brainstorming, a sense of urgency replaced fear. Ideas flowed as they spoke of community meetings, posters, flyers, social media blasts. They were finally harnessing their collective power, transforming anger into a powerful force for change. But that unease lingered, like a shadow at the edge of her mind. Every now and then, Sarah would glance toward the gathering dusk, expecting something to leap forth from the dark. Before they could conclude their plans, a loud crash rang out from the alleyway nearby. A trash can toppled over, casting a chaotic clatter over the street. Heads turned, and for a moment, silence enveloped them. "Did you see that?" someone whispered, their voice tinged with alarms. A group of hooded figures emerged from behind the alley, their intentions unreadable, but Sarah felt the air shift. "Guys, stay close," she called out. The group huddled together, a tight knot of solidarity against whatever brewed in the shadows. Suddenly, one figure stepped forward, raising a hand. "Hey, we mean no harm." The voice was deep and gruff, yet there was a note of urgency beneath it. "We're here to warn you. You don't know what you're getting into." The crowd tensed, uncertainty rippling through them. Sarah held her breath. Who were these people, and what did they want? "Listen to us," the figure continued, stepping closer, revealing a face half hidden by the hood. "You think you're standing against a fight? You're just scratching the surface of something much bigger than you realize." "What are you talking about?" Jake challenged, stepping in front of Sarah protectively. The figure's eyes narrowed, revealing an intensity that was chilling. "You need to prepare. They're coming and they won't stop until they take everything from you." Fear clawed at Sarah's insides. What did that mean? As the shadows shifted, she could feel the uncertainty thick in the air. Would they truly be ready for whatever lay ahead? And who exactly were they up against? The weight of unspoken threats loomed, heavy and suffocating. Panic mingled with determination as she sighed deeply, her heart racing wildly. Together, she whispered, hoping that unity would be their strength. But as the alley figures loomed closer, she couldn't help but wonder if they were simply a trap closing in on the hope they had just begun to build. The figure paused, chest rising and falling as it seemed to weigh the impact of the situation. The alley grew still, the distant hum of the crowd fading into a heavy silence. Sarah looked around, gauging the expressions of her friends. Fear hung over them like a thundercloud, but beneath it glimmered a flicker of curiosity sparked by the stranger's words. "Why should we trust you?" Marcus asked, voice steady but laced with skepticism. "You come out of nowhere, and you expect us to believe what you're saying?" "Trust often comes with a risk," the stranger replied, lowering his hood slightly. The ghost of a smile played on his lips, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm not here to deceive you. I'm here to help. My name is David." Sarah narrowed her eyes, but something in his gaze pulled her in. "And what do you want in return?" she demanded, her voice firm. "Nothing," he said, shaking his head slowly. "Just your willingness to listen. There is a darkness approaching. You might think your efforts can create change, but you're standing in the path of something far more dangerous." As he spoke, shadows seemed to swirl in the back of her mind, whispers of past decisions, and the sacrifices made for the garden. How many had come together for this cause? And would they all be willing to fight? "We need to know what we're up against," Jake interjected, crossing his arms. The protective stance was familiar, yet Sarah could see the doubt gnawing at him. "What are they planning?" David took a step closer, his eyes bright and urgent. "They're not just after this garden. They're after what it represents. Hope, unity. They want to turn you against each other." The words struck Sarah hard. The thought of the community fracturing felt like a punch to the gut. She had envisioned their fight as one for a shared belief, a sanctuary to shield their hopes. "How do we stop it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You need to gather intel. Find out where they're coming from, who is leading them. The more prepared you are, the greater your chances to fight back." The atmosphere shifted. Determination began to replace hesitation among the group. Questions spun in Sarah's mind, doubts tangled with resolve. "Maybe we can divide and conquer," she proposed, her heart racing at the possibilities. "Some can start contacting the community, while others can scout out the shadows," Marcus finished, eyes gleaming. "We've got to be smart, then. Move carefully." As the group began to discuss their roles, Sarah whispered to Jake, "Do you really think we're in that deep?" Jake's gaze softened as he glanced toward her. "It'll be tough. But we've come this far together. I believe in what we can do." The discussion rekindled the sentiment of their tight bond, a thread of hope weaving through their fears, igniting a spark that lit the dull evening. But even as they laid plans, a shiver coursed through Sarah. Something felt profoundly wrong. Suddenly, a heavy silence fell again, and David's demeanor shifted. "They're already in the city," he warned, "and they're watching. You need to make your move, and you have to do it fast." Uncertainty tumbled through Sarah's mind. How much time did they truly have? Without another word, David turned and began to retreat back into the shadows, leaving them with a sense of urgency that suffocated the air. Before he disappeared, he looked back. "Remember, unity is your best weapon. Use it wisely." His words hung in the air like an off-key note, resonating deep within her. As the group contemplated their next steps, Sarah felt adrenaline course through her veins. There was a bitterness in the air, but a stirring purpose began to settle, to protect their garden, their dreams, and more importantly, each other. But would that be enough to stand against the growing threat? Would they uncover the truth before it was too late? As she prepared herself for the challenges ahead, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that their battle was just beginning. Sarah's pulse quickened as she contemplated their next move. The glow of the streetlights painted an eerie ambience, highlighting the yet unspoken fears gripping her friends. She could feel their uncertainty like a weight on her shoulders. It would be easy to falter now, but she refused to let doubt take hold. "All right," she said, gathering everyone's attention. "We split up into two groups as planned. I'll go with Marcus, and Jake, you take Emily with you. We'll meet back here in an hour." There was a nod of agreement, eyes wide with purpose, but a quiet tension still clung to the air. Marcus stepped closer, his brow furrowed. "Let's just be careful. We don't know how many of them there really are." He glanced at Emily, who wrapped her arms tightly around herself as if protecting against the chill. The weight of what they were about to do was palpable. With a quick but reassuring smile, Sarah added, "We're stronger together. Remember that." She turned and matched Marcus's long strides as they ventured deeper into the heart of the city, envisioning the garden lush, vibrant, alive with laughter and hope. It was worth fighting for. As they moved down a side street, cloaked in dimness, Sarah's heart raced. Every shadow seemed to stretch longer, morphing into something threatening. "If there's truly a danger out there, we need to find out what form it takes," she said, gesturing toward an open courtyard. "Let's check here first." The courtyard was deserted, save for a few crumpled leaves skittering across the pavement. It felt like a ghost town, a stark reminder of how quickly things could shift in their community. "Do you feel that?" Marcus whispered, scrunching his face as he eyed the darkened corners. "What?" she asked, the unease creeping into her voice. "Like someone is watching us." He took a step back, scanning the shadows. The quiet stillness felt charged, as if the very air was waiting for something to break it. Sarah shrugged off the goosebumps crawling up her arms. They had to push through this. Suddenly, a noise broke through the silence, a scuffle from behind a nearby dumpster. Hard thudding, Sarah and Marcus froze, exchanging glances. "Should we check it out?" Marcus asked, tension knitted in the brow. Before she could answer, a figure stumbled out from behind the dumpster, a thin man with wild eyes and dirt-smeared clothes. "Run!" he shouted, panic lacing his voice. "They're coming! They want to take everything!" As if on cue, Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. It was the darkness David had warned about, now materializing right before them. Adrenaline surged through her body, igniting an instinct to action. "What's your name?" she demanded. "Liam, I saw them," he gasped, glancing over his shoulder as if he expected something, or someone, to leap out of the shadows. "What did you see?" Marcus pressed, stepping forward to confront the man, hope flaring despite the encroaching dread. "Figures in hoods, whispers in the night. They're already in the gardens, laying traps to tear us apart." The frantic energy in Liam's eyes mirrored the urgency pulsing in Sarah's heart. "Then we need to warn the others," she shouted, determination surging. They had to mull through this disarray quickly, but dread seeped in. It felt like the ground beneath them was shifting, the skirts of roll call shrinking. A sound echoed from up the street, a distinctive thud, followed by voices in harsh tones. Sarah's stomach twisted. They had no time left. We can't stay here. Let us go. She grabbed Marcus's arm. They turned to run just as Liam stumbled after them. But as they sprinted, the shadows lengthened, merging and swirling around them, a palpable omen of the chaos that was now descending. Don't look back! Sarah yelled, but inwardly, she knew the truth. What if looking back was the only way to understand what they were running toward? Was this darkness too deep to escape? Would knowing the identity of their enemy propel them forward or drag them further into despair? Their grasp on hope felt fragile, but there was no turning back now. The next step could change everything. The night air was thick with tension as they ran, panic fueling their legs while shadows clawed at their backs. Sarah's chest tightened as she glanced over her shoulder, her mind racing with the possibilities of what might follow. The gritty streets blurred past them, each corner a gamble, every darkened alley an invitation to danger. Where are we going? Liam shouted, his breath coming in gasps behind them. I don't know. Sarah called back, the truth gnawing at her. Anywhere but here. Marcus led the way, his determination palpable. The confidence in his stride sent a flicker of reassurance through Sarah. Their SA parked nearby. He yelled, guiding them toward a sprawling expanse that, under normal circumstances, would feel safe and familiar. As they neared the entrance of the park, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of dread tightening like a noose around her heart. She could hear the thud of footsteps echoing behind them, a relentless reminder of their pursuers. We need to find cover, she urged, and they veered toward a cluster of trees, their trunks dark against the moonlight. They ducked behind the thick foliage, the world beyond blurring into a muted silence. Sarah's pulse throbbed in her ears, but she forced herself to focus on the moment. What now? Marcus asked, breathing heavy as he leaned against a tree. Liam looked back, eyes wide with terror. What if they find us? He clenched his fists, the wildness in his expression bitterly defeated. Then we fight back, Sarah said, more to convince herself than the others. We can't just give up. Marcus exchanged a glance with her, something unspoken passing between them. We can't be the only ones who know. There have to be others, people we can rally, he said, and the flame of hope flickered brighter in Sarah's chest. The sound of voices grew closer, piercing the night like knives. They're on to us, Liam hissed. Just then, a rustle broke the silence, and footsteps halted just outside their hiding place. Sarah held her breath, the weight of the moment pressing on her like a heavy blanket. With a quick motion, she glanced at Marcus, her heart racing as they both listened intently. The murmurs were too low to make out, but fear coiled in her stomach. Was it them? Were they moving in for the easy catch? Sarah's resolve hardened. They couldn't just hide, they needed a plan. Do you think we could make it to the community center? Sarah whispered, her eyes darting to the others, gauging their readiness. It's south, the safest place I can think of. It's risky, Marcus answered, uncertainty flickering in his gaze. But if that's what it takes to warn everyone. Before he could finish his thought, a figure stepped into the light, silhouetted against the moon, a tall shadow in a hooded cloak. Sarah instinctively recoiled, but she pushed the fear aside. Stay close, she murmured, readying herself to confront whatever came next. The cloaked figure paused, scanning the area with a hawkish glare. Sarah's heart raced, her thoughts spiraling as she contemplated jumping out. What if they were just misunderstood? What if the darkness they feared was just the beginning of something larger? Sarah? Marcus whispered sharply, snapping her back to the now. Let us go, quietly, she breathed, inching backward, her heart pounding against her ribs. They had to move, but with the figure so near, every choice felt like a step into the unknown. Just then, the shadowed figure turned, and in a flash, their eyes locked. Recognizing something within, Sarah felt a surge of hope. But right then, she realized, was it hope that surged, or was it a disguise masking danger? No! She gasped, the weight of revelation crashing down. Did they recognize her? Did they know her? Were they, somehow, connected to this dark web tightening around them? With a whirl, the figure surged forward, and Sarah's world tilted into chaos. The next moment could shatter everything or lead them toward an improbable salvation. What lay ahead as they stepped deeper into the dark web? Would it lead them closer to the truth, or drag them further into despair? The shadows whispered secrets, and Sarah had never been more uncertain. In an instant, everything unraveled. The cloaked figure lunged forward, and Sarah instinctively flinched, ready to dodge. But before she could react, the figure threw back the hood, revealing sun-streaked hair and a face she recognized. "Claire?" Sarah whispered, her voice barely a breath amidst the tension. Claire stepped closer, her features shifting from a fierce determination to profound relief. "Thank God," she murmured, glancing past Sarah and the others with urgency. "I thought I'd lost you for good." "What do you mean?" Marcus's question cut through the air, breaking the fragile moment. "What is happening?" Claire held up her hands in surrender, her eyes darting like needles in the dark. "We don't have time. They're coming. You have to trust me." Liam's fear bubbled to the surface. Who's coming?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Others who want you silenced," Claire said, her tone grave. "But I'm not here to hurt you." Then why are you in a cloak?" Liam shot back, his skepticism evident. "Because this wasn't exactly a social visit," Claire snapped, her patience fraying. "The more attention we draw, the more danger we're in. You have to follow me." Tangling emotions sparked confusion in Sarah. Claire had always been a fierce guardian in their shared past. Seeing her now wrapped in an air of secrecy unnerved Sarah, but the urgency in her eyes ignited a flicker of trust. "We don't even know if we can trust you," Sarah hesitated, feeling torn. "Look, I'm the only one who can get you out of here. I know a way." Claire's voice softened, her fear palpable. "The community center is a trap. You'll be cornered if you go there." Panic swelled in Sarah's chest. They had to do something, but every choice felt like a jigsaw puzzle missing pieces. "Then where do we go?" she pressed. "Follow me, and stay close," Claire instructed, her eyes fierce with determination. The whispers of danger loomed larger. Sarah felt a profound heaviness settle around them, a weight of uncertainty. Yet the glimmer of hope sparked against the shadows. "Okay," Sarah finally nodded. "Lead the way." "But if this is a trap, it's not," Claire promised, grabbing Sarah's hand as she turned. "I swear. You have to believe me." The group hesitated for just a moment, but Marcus matched Claire's intensity. "All right, let us move. Stay silent." As they slipped out from behind the trees, the world beyond felt both familiar and foreign. The night sky hung above them like a dark ocean, and the city lights twinkled far in the distance, oblivious to the turmoil just moments away from erupting. They navigated the winding paths that snaked through the park, Claire's lead unwavering. With each step, Sarah's heart hammered faster. Her thoughts swirled. How could Claire have known? Why was she risking everything? The pull of familiarity had a way of blurring the lines between trust and doubt. Suddenly, a low growl pierced the night. A shadow moved in their direction, closer, creeping like a specter. "Hurry!" Claire gasped, sprinting ahead. The tension coiled tight in Sarah's chest, her instincts flaring. They dashed, breaths ragged, hearts pounding, but Sarah stole a quick glance back. Two dark figures emerged from the depths, silhouettes marked by a predatory grace. "Go!" she shouted, fear fueling her speed. The path ahead blurred as she focused on Claire, the urgency driving them like a bullet. What lay ahead in the darkness? Could silence still yield answers, or would the truth be a bitter revelation? Sarah felt the weight of their choices pressing down as the night sky swallowed them whole, each step brimming with danger. Would they escape secret intact and bond renewed, or were they racing toward a deeper betrayal? The answers danced just beyond reach, cloaked in shadows of uncertainty. They sprinted through the labyrinth of trees, Sarah's heart pounding like a relentless drum. Behind them, the sinister growls of their pursuers echoed, growing louder with each step. Claire's strong lead kept them moving forward, weaving effortlessly through the shadows, but Sarah felt the desperate pull of fear clawing at her insides. "Keep going! We're almost there!" Claire urged, her voice a mix of adrenaline and urgency. It spurred them on, pushing Sarah beyond her limits. But as they rushed onto a narrower path, Liam stumbled, his foot catching a root. He went down hard, a gasp of pain escaping his lips. "Help!" he cried. "Liam! Hold on!" Marcus shouted, darting back to help him up. The rest of the group hesitated, the tension palpable. Every second felt like an eternity, as the growling shadows drew inexorably closer. "Go!" Sarah shouted, panic coursing through her. "We can't leave him!" But a part of her knew that hesitation could mean disaster. Liam struggled to his feet, breathless but determined. "I won't hold you back. We need to get out." He glanced back up the path, fear etched in his face. Suddenly, Claire's expression shifted. "No! We're not leaving anyone behind." With fierce resolve, she grabbed Liam's arm, pulling him upright. "Stick together. We can make it if we just keep moving." The dark figures had appeared closer now, two ominous shapes moving with a purpose, their eyes glinting like coals in the night. "Run!" Marcus shouted. With Liam gasping but resolved, the group rejoined, their escape a chaotic rush toward the park's exit. Each step felt like a desperate plea to defy the encroaching darkness lurking just behind them. Glimmers of city lights began to emerge, marking the boundary between the safety of their neighborhoods and the dread of the unknown outside. Sarah's heart surged with hope, a flicker against the suffocating fear. They burst through the park gates, the cold night air hitting them like a wave. The thrill of freedom sent adrenaline coursing through their veins, but they could hear the growls shift to frantic shouts behind them. They had no time to waste. "We need to find a place to hide," Claire called out. "The community center is nearby, but we need to get there without being seen. Behind those buildings." Marcus pointed to a series of small shops lining the street. They hurried around the corner, ducking behind a dusty delivery truck. Huddled together, breaths coming in gasps, they scanned the street for signs of their pursuers. "What now?" Sarah asked, her eyes darting to the shadows. Claire's eyes narrowed, sharp like a hawk's. "We can either wait here and risk being found, or we can move. Let us see if we can get into the back of the community center. They might not expect us to head that way." With a silent nod from the others, Claire led the way, weaving between cars and trash bins. They approached the back entrance of the community center, a nondescript door that could easily be ignored amidst the bustle of the city. They crept inside, the heavy door creaking as they passed through. Inside, the familiar scent of clean floors mixed with a trace of old wood welcomed them, stirring memories of gatherings and laughter. But now felt so different, heavy with the weight of urgency and fear. "Lock it behind us," Claire instructed, pushing the door closed with a thud that reverberated through the hushed hall. "What if they find us here?" Liam whispered. "We stand our ground," Sarah replied, the conviction surprising even herself. "We can't let fear dictate this moment. Together, we fight for our community and for each other." Agnes's words echoed in her mind, reminding her of the strength that came from unity. Face to face with uncertainty, Sarah refused to back down. "We have to make a plan. We need to tell everyone what is happening." As they gathered around one of the community center's long wooden tables, their expressions shifted from panic to fierce determination. They discussed their next steps, sharing ideas and embracing the power of gathering strength from one another. Claire spoke up passionately. "We can leverage our community's voice. People want to support something that represents hope, change, and unity." "Agreed," Marcus chimed in, fervently leaning forward. "We need to get our neighbors involved, reach out to local leaders, and rally everyone to stand against what is coming." As they laid out their ideas, a sense of camaraderie built among them, dissolving the fear that had gripped their hearts. But as they began to formulate their plan, a sudden sound broke their focus. A soft knock echoed at the door. Everyone tensed, instincts heightened. "Who could that be?" Sarah whispered, her heart thrumming dangerously. Before they could react, the door creaked open, casting an unexpected light. "It's me," came a familiar voice, steady and unwavering. "Jake." Relief washed over them as he entered, the pressed fabric of his shirt contrasting against the chaos they had just navigated. "I found you guys," he panted, locking eyes with each of them in turn. "But we have no time to spare. They're moving quickly. We need to act fast." Together, in that moment, Sarah felt the weight of their fight solidify. They were not just battling for a garden, they were fighting for hope, for unity, for a future. Their whispers began to blend together, hearts beating in synchrony. The spark ignited, fueled by promises of togetherness. The togetherness that would guide them through the storms ahead. "Okay, here's the plan," Sarah declared, feeling the empowering surge of inspiration wash over her and transforming fear into unwavering belief. As they prepared to face the encroaching darkness, they realized that the true power of community lay in their connection, and that together, they could forge a path toward brighter tomorrows. In the unwavering depths of their bond, they found strength. They were ready to reclaim their home from the shadows. With hope in their hearts, they stepped out into the world beyond, ready to fight for everything that mattered. And as they pressed forward, the echoes of possibility coursed through them like electricity, a fierce glow against the backdrop of uncertainty. Now was the moment to stand strong. With hearts united, they faced a formidable future, refusing to let doubt shadow the light they had forged together. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and keep the momentum going. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending, and let us spark conversations. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.